Hello, and welcome in to the A to Z Sports Morning Show. It's a Phone It In Tuesday. I am your host, Easton Freeze, joined, of course, on a Phone It In Tuesday by JT Runke. We are off to a hot start, and we're glad that you're all here. We have a great show for you today. We're going to have plenty of antics and hijinks, laughs along the way, probably some technical difficulties. We'll also sprinkle in some talk about the Tennessee Titans in there, I'm sure. We are talking about trends today. Titans trends, two of them to be exact. One has to do with the points that they are putting on the scoreboard and what exactly it means. Because the past couple of weeks, they have scored more points than the very few points than they typically had been scoring. So that's a thing that has changed. We want to get to the bottom of whether or not it actually means anything that they are scoring more points. And then we're going to talk about Cam Ward and his deep passing. I made a film thread on Twitter yesterday that is in conjunction with an article that is coming out at some point today about Cam Ward's deep passing, his deep passing inaccuracy, where exactly he is struggling on the field, because it's not really just a deep passing accuracy issue. And also, we're going to theorize what exactly is going wrong and leading to said inaccuracy. So, a lot to dive into, a lot that we want to hear you all's opinions on. JT, tell the folks what they need to do before we get started.
Yeah, good morning, Easton. Good morning, A to Z chat. It's good to see you guys. I was not trying to laugh at you or any of the topics we are broaching today because they are important topics. I more so was over here in disbelief because it's just unfathomable how something goes wrong every single Tuesday.
We break something every time. We do.
On what is now we refer to as a Phone It In Tuesday. I'm now looking at StreamYard that just popped up with a error message and says, we are having trouble streaming to Twitch. This may be an issue on Twitch's end. So, unfortunately for our one viewer over there, Bieber.
I was about to say that one person who regularly tunes in on Twitch.
We are, I guess, not streaming there today, but it's just hilarious how something continues to go wrong every single time. But at least so far, as I'm talking, your camera has not gone out. We are late as ever. I'll let you guys.
We are less than 3 minutes into the show. There's plenty of time for that to happen.
There's plenty of time this morning to get into that. But it is a Phone It In Tuesday, and it certainly seems like people are up in arms about our title this morning, which
really?
Certainly.
Two Titans trends scoring more points, yet Cam Ward is leaving points on the field.
Gary says, I see y'all want to piss him off this morning. So that certainly we'll get into it.
That was maybe on the morning call we said, how can we really ruin Gary's morning? So mission accomplished. Well done, boys.
Yeah, as Darren says, it's a third string third. Wait a minute. No, it's a Phone It In Tuesday.
That's right. Come on, get your days right.
We got to get those days right, but it's good to see all of you guys. Good morning, Vanessa. Good morning, Ann. Good morning, Raymond. Good morning, Curtis. Good morning, Deborah. Good to see all of you guys. Anthony Cook, all of you guys in here this morning. Going to have a great show for you today, and we ask that you just hear us out before we start jumping to conclusions. I understand that there is a negative,
just jump to the
negative connotation, negative connotation towards Cam Ward in our title. But just we're gonna say some good things. We're gonna be constructive with our criticism, as everyone should be. Constructive criticism makes everybody better in the long run. So we'll get into that today. I need a couple things from you guys. First and foremost, though, if you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate you watching over there. First and foremost, hit that like button. Make sure you're also subscribed. When you hit that like button and you subscribe, whatever the algorithm things that pull up here in the world of YouTube, send this out to more Titans fans so that we can reach a bigger audience and get more people in here talking about Cam Ward and the Titans this morning. So smash that like button and make sure while you're down there to also have hit subscribed. And also, if you're watching over on the Facebook page, we appreciate you watching over there as well. Need a couple things from you guys as well. Hit that like button first and foremost. We're hitting like a 50% like mark right now.
Ooh.
Certainly can always be better, but promising numbers on the Facebook front this morning, but need you guys to hit that like button on Facebook. Also, make sure you've liked the page and hit that share button while you're there as well. Send this show to a Titans fan who wants to talk some Titans this morning as well. Easton, let's get this thing going.
Yep, let's get it started. Welcome into the A to Z Sports Morning Show, live on a Tuesday morning. We, of course, are brought to you by AtoZSports. Check them out in the link in the description below. We are live each and every weekday morning at 8:10 Central Time on our YouTube and Facebook pages, so check that out as well. If I can, I don't even know where the thing is. Here we go. Our links are tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at AtoZSports, and then follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage. This is what I was looking for that I couldn't find, but now I've found it. The link to follow us on Google. We're going to send this in the chat, JT, if you could send that for me, because it's not letting me copy it for some reason. On Google, you can follow people now, and we would like for you to follow A to Z Sports. It's going to help you get A to Z Sports on your feed more frequently, the news that you want, and it's also going to help us get our product in front of your eyeballs. So click that link in the chat right now to follow us on Google. It's extremely helpful. Got to thank our sponsors for making the show happen and helping out you all at home. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine, boneandjointtn.org. Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs, local and online at bartondrury.com. Botero Carts, life is short, so buy a golf cart with 2 locations to serve you in Columbia and in Gallatin, boterocarts.com. And Window Nation, take advantage of Window Nation's end-of-year sale through the end of the year. 50% off all window styles. You could get 0% interest financing for up to 5 years. Okay, JT. So, the Titans, in their last 3 games, they have won one of them. But they have scored 24 or more points in 3 of the last 4 games they've played. So, in the past month, they have gotten on the board in a way that we had not seen, not only this year, but really for like 2 years now.
Yes.
And we want to talk about what that means. I want to pull up the exact scores to be precise here. But here we go. Against the 49ers, they scored 24 points exactly in a 37-24 loss. Against the Browns, of course, they scored 31 points the first time in quite some time. They have broken the 30 barrier. 31-29, they won that game. They only managed 3 points against the Jacksonville Jaguars the week before, but the week before that, against the Seahawks, Cam Ward and company scored 24 points in a 30-24 loss to Seattle. So 24, 31, 24 in 3 of their last 4 games. Let's go ahead and ask the question and get the chat's involvement going on this. The Titans have scored 24 or more points in 3 of the last 4 games. What does that mean to you? JT is going to send that in the chat right now, give you all a chance to answer that question, because I know where I fall on this, and I'm curious to see if that aligns with the general opinion. While you all are answering that question, let me real quick tell you a little bit more about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute. They are, of course, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. Check them out at boneandjointtn.org. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and we trust our friends at BJI. They are located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury. State-of-the-art rehab facility on campus helps you recover quickly. They do everything under one roof for your convenience: clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, and rehab. So schedule an appointment today at boneandjointtn.org.
Yeah, so shout out our friends at BTA Sports. BTA is better for bettors. Such a great time to get in on the BTA Sports train if you want to become a better and smarter sports bettor. There's no better time than right now, and use our code ATOZSports when you sign up by clicking that link either in the description on YouTube or on the show title on Facebook to sign up, and then you get a 14-day free trial, so that'll get you week 16 and 17 of the NFL season to try it out. And then if you want to continue with it, it's only $79.99 for the entire year. So that'll get you all the way through week 17 of the 2026 season, and also including MLB this upcoming spring. It's going to be a good season. My shade today may or may not be Major League Baseball related, so we'll get into that later. But also going to be a fun season to get in with BTA Sports in terms of sports betting. Once again, BTA is better for bettors.
So, JT, I'll send you to the chat a quick and early question this morning.
Yes.
But I feel like asking the folks
Whiplash.
is the best way to start. It's the best way to start
in
this
their
topic.
face.
24 points in 3 of the last 4 games. What is the chat making of this scoring burst from the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, Anthony Keys says it is improvement to him. That's what it means. Scott says it's better than 17, which I think is frankly very fair. I know you talked about how they scored 30 points against the Browns, which is the first time they've done that in a while, but certainly it was sooner than the last time they scored 30 points. If you remember, that's all we could talk about last year was when will the Titans finally
30 points?
30 points. It was over 1,000 days. At least we didn't have to wait that long for 30 points again. What a time to be alive for sure. Darren says he's not actually sure what it means. Can't remember how each point was scored.
Mostly touchdowns and field goals.
Yes. And
in fact,
some of those
touchdowns and field
touchdowns.
goals.
Fair enough. I think what he means is more so offense versus defense for special teams. In the terms of special teams has also been an improvement here. Randy says it means improved offensive line play. Only Outdoors fan is taking a little bit of a nuanced approach here, saying it means that defenses are playing prevent by the second half, which I think is not unfair to say there. Mm-hmm. Eric says the offense got better after both Callahans left. Steven says it helps with their head coaching search. Darius says things are clicking with Cam and the run game. It signals to him that there's a rhythm going on, and says it's quotidian. So that's what it means to her.
Good callback. Expected.
Yes, expected. A-Rod says, I remember when 17 was a thing. I think we all do. I think it's at least we don't have to talk about that. We can start to talk about other things than just 17 points.
Now it's either 20 plus or 3 points.
Yes.
They are all or nothing these days.
Deborah says the pieces are there. They just need to come together more consistently. Camry says that it means that the Titans can beat Minshew and the sorry Chiefs now. Well, it's hilarious how Patrick Mahomes goes down and they get eliminated and they instantly become a woe is me type of team here, which in the national spotlight, which I think is very funny.
It is funny.
Cause 66 says it means the O-line is, I'm assuming he means is getting better and is improving. Right. Keelan says, shows we need to go back to a running offense. The offensive line got better. Running game success means Cam is improving. Cam is getting it. Offense is gelling around a system that's about to be replaced. Defense is falling apart. So as one trend goes up, maybe in a different sense, the other trend is going the opposite way. Randy says it means it's step one of the rebuild, relying on so many young players. The general consensus I feel like here is what Deborah is pointing to. The improvement on the offensive line and specifically the rookies around them is what is making this offense look a little bit better. And I think that extends to that other point where Darren was talking about, well, how are the points being scored? Well, if they're not being scored on offense, they're also being scored by a rookie in Chimere Dike on special teams. So it's not like they are relying on veteran leadership or veteran presence to score some of these points. No, it's a lot of it is, or at least I would say a good 50% of it, because the other 50% is Joey Sly, which I think is its own topic in its own right. But most of the touchdowns being scored are from rookies.
Agreed. I just realized I think I have yogurt on my shoulder, so ignore that.
I would not have noticed that unless you
I scratched it and I made it worse, and now it's visible. It looks like I have a stain because I do have a stain on my shoulder. I'm not gonna completely poo-poo the idea that they're scoring more points, because they are scoring more points, and at the end of the day, they had plenty of garbage time opportunities earlier this season and last year to score points that were garbage time points, and they didn't do that. So I guess in that sense, you do have to take a step forward to get to garbage time scoring, and then a step from garbage time scoring to real time scoring. But the Titans, against the Browns, they scored 31 points, and they did so taking a lead, right? So that is really the only performance that is impressive in any way, and in that one, that's a reflection of the run game coming alive in a way that we hadn't seen it before. Now, upon review of that game, because I've kind of been digging into the emergence of the run game the past couple of weeks, I do think that, and this is probably a topic for another day, the run game success that they had against San Francisco is different than the run game success they had in Cleveland, in the sense that in San Francisco, they were running at a really high efficiency in terms of success rate. Like their runs were typically 5, 6, 7 yards a clip. They didn't have any big, long 65-yard explosives to pad the numbers, but in a sense, that it's even better to be efficient rather than explosive in the run game, in my opinion. They were explosive in Cleveland, right? So it was something like, 24 of their 30 run attempts or whatever it was in Cleveland went for 3 or less yards. They weren't exactly efficient, but they broke off explosives when it mattered, and it led to 2 scores. The other 2 games that we're talking about here, obviously the Jaguars game, complete and utter disaster of a game offensively, and that's not good. The Seahawks game, they scored 24 points, but 14 of them come, you could argue it's garbage time, third and fourth quarter, but it's when they were down by 20 already. And against the Niners last week, 14 of their points came in the fourth quarter when they were down by 20 some odd points. In fact, I think in both games, it was like 30-10 and 31-10 they were down by when they scored 2 touchdowns at the end of the game. So 14 of the 24 points in both of those games came when they were trailing significantly. Again, you still have to be able to score in that game script scenario, but it's not the most impressive thing in the world to me. And even in this most recent game against the Niners, it wasn't like Cam Ward lit it up passing in garbage time either. It was a pretty balanced mix of pass and run game. They were operating like a team that, frankly, needed to remain balanced even though they were down big, because if they turned the ball over to Cam Ward's hand and had him try to pass it around the yard a million times for a bevy of reasons, none less important than the fact that he has limited weapons out there, that was going to be a problem. So all of that rambling is to say, it's not progress, but is it exactly inspiring to me? I think the most inspiring part of it, frankly, is that they've found some semblance of balance on offense with the run game, but the actual passing attack hasn't taken strides to me in a month, or really, I mean, I'm trying to think of the last time the passing attack took any semblance of a stride. Every time they do, it feels fleeting, right? When was the last time they took a step forward and you feel like they stayed on that step and it wasn't a flash in the pan? I can't think of when that was.
Yeah, and I think that's a byproduct of what's around Cam Ward, right? I mean, some of it can be Cam Ward. I think Darius says that because of a lack of talent. I think it's definitely can be. There's blame to be put on everyone here in terms of why it has not been consistent like that. But when you have to rely on this many rookies, I think it's going to be like that. You have certainly different you look at the different wide receivers and pass catchers they have that are rookies. And we've talked for so long about how each of them kind of hits this rookie wall and continues to just not be able to bust through the rest of the season, right? That happened with Alec Ayamaner. And while he's been, at least this was when he got his opportunities on Sunday, he made the most of them. There wasn't, from my memory, an egregious drop or anything like that from Alec Ayamaner. When he got the opportunities he had, he made the most of them. Chimere Dike was the one who had the drop, but other than that was pretty much, non-existent in that game from a passing attack stance. 2 guys who I think, fair to say, because of how much they've had to play, certainly since they were 4th round rookies, that's the kind of pedigree you're talking about. And it's fair to say that they have hit a rookie wall at this point in the season, which leaves other guys to emerge, right? Gunnar Helm, the past 2 or so weeks and quietly over the past 4, like you talked about with how many points they're scoring, Gunnar Helm has kind of emerged. Now, does that mean that this is actually an emergence, or is that him excelling to where this rookie wall will then finally hit down the stretch here? It's a give and take right now with a lot of the guys that the Titans have at their disposal. You start to see them rely a little bit more on the veterans like Tony Pollard, which has been nice, but I do think a lot of the inconsistency can be attributed to there's a lot of guys who are trying to ascend, but also hitting a rookie wall, whatever that may mean to you. that make it really hard to put this together consistently on a game-to-game basis.
I've got 3 comments from Facebook, by the way, which beating the allegations of our YouTube bias here. 3 Facebook comments to address. Right after I tell everybody about our friends over at Barton Drury Insurance Group. They are the local destination for all of your customized solutions to your insurance needs. Check them out at bartondrury.com. Truly a one-stop shop for any personal and business insurance needs. They have over 40 years of experience serving Tennesseans. Austin and Zach bought from them when they got corporate insurance for AtoZSports last year, and they loved the experience. The service team is top-notch. High level of expertise. They sell employee benefits, 401k planning, life insurance, workers' comp, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and surety bonds. They're local. They strive to provide excellent service, but most importantly, they take the time to make sure everyone understands their insurance policies. So check them out today at bartondrury.com.
Yeah, we are also powered by BTA Sports. BTA, where insight meets instinct. Once again, use that code ATOZSports when you download the app to get a free 14-day free trial. Then after that, it's just $79.99. That gets you all of the amazing features and updates and quality of life fixes that the team at BTA continues to bring to their wonderful app. It gets you the entirety of the MLB season, which I'm most looking forward to. And then also, you're going to get all the way through week 17 of next season just for $80. It's a heck of a deal, and it's where insight meets instinct. BTA Sports is better for bettors.
So 3 comments. First from Randy. It says, Easton, brother, you got to factor in these receivers. I did. If you listened to what I said, I did factor them in. It's certainly an element of this. But it's not something that takes all the blame off of Cam either. He has to be more consistent. You and I, JT, talked about this on Sunday in the postgame show. We've seen all the flashes. It's a semblance of consistency that we're looking for from Cam Ward now. And I understand the circumstances that make that difficult. But that is the next step. Whether you think it's fair for him to have not taken that next step yet or not, there's no arguing. The next step is doing some of these flashy things consistently. And right now he's not yet. Cole says, we've got to quit with the Cam slander. Dude's a standout rookie. First of all, no one's slandering Cam. But second of all, he is not a standout rookie. Cam Ward's not a standout rookie. He's a rookie that's shown a lot of promise and has absolutely checked the box for anybody objective to be excited about him going into year 2 with a year's worth of experience, with an offseason under his belt to improve his own craft, and one can only imagine better circumstances around him, better weapons to work with. There's no question about Cam Ward going into 2026, and there are reasons to be excited about that. But a standout rookie, he is not. Drake May wasn't a standout rookie last year. Caleb Williams wasn't a standout rookie last year. They had promising rookie seasons that led you to believe that in year 2, they could be exciting players. And look, here they are being exciting players in year 2. But they were not standout rookies. CJ Stroud was a standout rookie. Jaden Daniels was a standout rookie. Those are standout rookie years. This is not a standout rookie year for Cam Ward. He has not come anywhere close to that bar. So you people are making me turn into the Cam Ward slanderer or hater because you're not living in reality.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would call a standout rookie as someone who is a top candidate for rookie of the year. There's no conversation that I don't think Cam Ward's even close to being in the offensive rookie of the year conversation here.
How many times this year has Cam Ward been a tractor quarterback? Carried his team, been the engine of the team.
I would say the 2 quarters and the last 2 quarters in the Arizona game, and
right. But that's my point, is that that conversation becomes which quarters did he do that in, not which halves, not which games. Let's talk about games and win. And there's no let's talk about wins, and the Titans only have 2, and neither of them were really like Cam Ward did this. He was certainly a part of it, but it was a lot of extenuating circumstances in both that led to those wins. So I just let's pump the brakes on the Cam Ward glazing, and we're going to talk about the good and the bad here in just a second. That brings me to my third comment. I didn't mean to cut you off. Any more to talk about on the Cam Ward is not a standout rookie, or are you going to leave that alone? Let me be the bad guy.
No, I'll let you be the bad guy.
Fair enough.
For once.
It's probably wise of you.
Yeah.
The third comment, which brings us to our second topic today from Gary. If we bring up The damn deep ball misses. Rookies don't hit on deep passes. Check the stats. I do love this. Check the stats, man. Look at the books. This is not true. It's not true. I mean, it's technically true, I guess, that rookies do hit on deep passes. It's not like
Drake May hit a heck of a lot of deep passes last year, but nobody was watching Nobody was watching them last year because they were also #bad.
The correct thing to say is that quarterbacks don't really hit on deep passes because deep passing is a low percentage endeavor. Right? Even if you get hot for a couple weeks or even the majority of a year, it always comes back down to earth. It is. You cannot live and die by the deep ball. You have to be able to do other things because the deep ball is they're lottery shots. They're not consistent. You can't. I guess I'll just leave it at that. You can't live by the deep ball as a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean,
they are low percentage. So that applies to rookies. It applies to veterans too. But Cam Ward has been unique in the sense that his deep passing at times has been more concerning than you would expect for a baseline for a guy. I don't really even know how to categorize it because what do we expect from any quarterback when it comes to deep passing? It's you hit on one or two a game, right? Like I think that's kind of our bar is like a couple of deep shots connect a game, and that's satisfactory. Maybe another expectation is that you don't miss the same way over and over. Maybe that's what the frustration for Cam Ward is, that his miss is pretty consistent. We're going to talk through what his miss actually is here in a second, and I really wish we could go through the film here on YouTube, but unfortunately YouTube is a Nazi.
It's also funny because we're getting when we start to utter the words deep ball and Cam Ward in the same conversation, we get people like Ryan who says he was 2 or 3 deep passes. Stop overanalyzing one throw.
In the San Francisco
Josh
game,
Allen go a whole first half missing passes, but here we are debating over one missed pass. Well, we're going to go over every single deep ball here in just a second.
I was about to say, we are not talking about the San Francisco game. We were talking about 15 games of Cam Ward. And I agree with you guys in the sense that in this game, like he went 2 of 3. So to hound on one really bad miss, admittedly, is silly. And to the other person's point, whoever that was talking about Josh Allen, we've talked about this on the show before. Like Patrick Mahomes, not a particularly great deep ball passer, very spotty during his career. And then there are guys that are great deep ball passers that aren't exactly great quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts throws a great deep ball, very catchable deep ball. Michael Penix does the same thing. Are we talking about these guys as incredible players? No, because what matters is can you move the ball in your offense up and down the field, and that doesn't typically have to do with just nailing 30-yard passes over and over. It has to do with nailing the hard stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go ahead and, JT, tell the folks about Botero Carts this morning, and then we will ask our second question, and I'll get to some of my tweets.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, life is short, and we got to buy a golf cart, and that's what our friends at Botero Carts aim to provide here. And Botero Carts makes buying your new luxurious golf cart so easy. 0% financing for 36 months. With carts starting at just $6,700, they're open 7 days a week with a full service sale and rental dealership that is locally owned and operated with 2 locations to serve you here in the Middle Tennessee area, one in Gallatin and one in Columbia, their new location there. They have a no dealer fee, no credit card fees, so no hidden fees when you buy your shiny new golf cart. And they are shiny and new because they're all stored indoors out of the weather and the elements for your satisfaction. They also have a no credit needed option if you want to take that route. Easton, it is the holidays upcoming. We are so close. I keep looking at my calendar and I say Christmas is like, can you believe it, guys? Christmas is just a week away. So you got to buy a golf cart and share that Christmas spirit with your loved ones. And there's no better place to do that than at Botero Carts.
We are also brought to you by BTA Sports. I was letting my wife know, hey, our daughter is officially getting too loud for this house because we can hear her on the show. Y'all heard that? I heard that.
She's listening to what you were saying about Cam Ward and is very upset.
She's rioting from outside the door. She is screaming my name because she has something to say. We're brought to you by BTA Sports, powered by BTA Sports. Use the link in the description to download BTA Sports today. Get a 14-day free trial. You will not regret it. So JT, let's go ahead and ask the question, and then I'll share some thoughts off the top. How concerned are you with Cam Ward's deep passing inaccuracy on a scale of 1 to 10? We're going to send that in the chat right now and get you guys to weigh in on it. But first, as I went through his 30 some odd passes yesterday that qualified as deep passing on NFL Pro, so 20 plus air yards, right?
Yes.
The initial takeaway was very clear, and it's that Cam Ward's deep passing inaccuracy isn't really deep passing inaccuracy. It's deep sideline passing inaccuracy. Because, and I apologize, because in these tweets, I counted this wrong. I went back and double-checked this morning, but the point still stands. He has completed 10 passes of 20-plus air yards this season. 5 of them are inside the numbers across the middle of the field. 5 of them are outside the numbers, pushing the boundary. He has missed 24, and 2 of those are across the middle. 22 of them are to the boundary. So in other words, he is 5 of 7 across the middle of the field. He is 5 of 22 to the boundary. It's really outside the numbers where he is struggling. And so I bucketed all of these passes on film, and I do encourage you to go to my Twitter at Easton Freeze, find this thread right here, deep passing film thread, watch through it yourself because I think it's pretty interesting. And I started with those 10 completions, and that is that. Then we went to, like I just said, and here's where I got the numbers wrong. Whoops. Sideline inaccuracy. I did say crack charting. It was crack charting. I double checked. 5 of 7 inside the numbers, 5 of 22 outside the numbers. But obviously the point stands. His inside the number misses was just 1 overthrow and 1 really bad underthrow. That one where he was rolling to his left and seemed to like not set his feet, and then the ball slipped out of his hands and it fell like 10 yards short of the guy. Still don't know what happened there. The most common miss was sideline throws that are overthrows or out of bounds, which kind of sometimes it can be an overthrow out of bounds. They kind of go hand in hand. But what you notice, and again, go watch this 1:30 clip that I put on Twitter. He is consistently trying to push all the way to the boundary on most of these passes. He's keeping the ball out of harm's way, but it's at the cost of being catchable. And so I want to talk about that a little bit and theorize why I know that there are 2 main reasons why this is happening. The question is, how much of each is it? And then how fixable are each of those things? So put a pin in that. But that's, let's see, 7 of the throws I charted were overthrows, and 3 of them were out of bounds. So 10 of them fall into this category. The final category is this. I just kind of bucketed all of these drops, of which there were 2, I believe. Contested incompletions where he gave his guy a chance and they just didn't come down with the ball. But, you know, it's kind of hard to be mad about those, right? The DBs get paid to. And then miscommunications, of which there were 2. One was in the end zone. Alec Guymaner kind of stopped running on a route and ended up being thrown out the back of the end zone. And then the all too infamous Mason Kinsey pass up the right side of the field where he turned inside and came through to the outside shoulder. But we've talked about how those really are just not being on the same page. JT, I'll send you to the comments before we dive further into why he's missing this way. How concerned are people in the chat about his deep passing inaccuracy?
Yeah, we can start off here with Austin, who says he's at a 2 right now for sure.
Is that Austin Stanley?
Or no, Austin okay. Lammers.
I think Austin Stanley is much higher than that.
Yes.
So
Maven
all
says,
Austins agree on this.
Maven says a 6. 6, Nero with a 3, a 4, Curtis with a 3, Darren says a 4. He's not really concerned yet. Anthony says 4. Orlando says 4. Hello Lady says 7. Darius says 5.85. Big with a 3. Eric says 0. Not at all. He'll be all right. An 8 here from James. Corey with a 5 here. Daniel with a 4. 8. From a Josh, that's the highest one so far here. James with a -10, not concerned at all in the world here. Jamie with a 3. Tall Texan says 1. Not making layups is way more concerning to him. Cool Colin says 2. He was good at it at school, so not worried that he won't improve. I do. I do push
Incorrect.
back on this.
It's not even a pushback. It's just not. It's factually inaccurate.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point there in how he's a lot more comfortable and more accurate on deep throws down the middle of the field than to the sidelines. Which one
you saw that part in school? That certainly was the case.
Which one
I'll
I
pull
think
up that
is
chart by the way while you
is a byproduct of someone had a good observation here. I cannot find where that was down the list of comments here, but someone did ask, is he having more inaccurate throws to the sides of the field because of the difference between a college and NFL field? I don't know if he's still adjusting to that. I would hope that he is not still adjusting to that, but it still
the answer is no, because we saw this exact same pattern in college, and I don't mean to cut you off, but here's his Miami passing chart, just some numbers to qualify this. So deep passes, 20-plus air yards downfield. Middle of the field between the numbers, he's 21 of 33 for almost 700 yards, 8 touchdowns, 146 passer rating. Outside the numbers, it's split left and right. So on the left, 8 of 21, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. Outside the right, 5 of 21, 150 yards, 1 touchdown. So combining those, he was 13 of 42 outside the numbers and 21 of 33 inside the numbers. Inside the numbers, 700 yards. Outside the numbers,
and some of those in college also, the ones to the outside were the byproduct of busted coverage, where there was no receiver or no corner around at all.
Right, just wide open. Yeah.
The wide open ones with, byproduct of playing an ACC schedule there. But like you said, I don't remember the wow throws that made you kind of fall in love with the prospect, and the ones that continued to float around Twitter all before the draft were all up the middle throws. The ones from the Pop-Tart Bowl, the ones from their game against Georgia Tech, all those wow throws that he was making in the big time, big situations were all down the middle of the field. And I think that's something we kind of came to terms with, and maybe should have been a bigger topic of conversation, something that we can go forward with looking at down the road here. That yes, the middle of the field, he is lights out, which by this year's standard also is correct. But to the sides of the field, it's a big problem. I think that you can say one is great while also recognizing that the other one isn't, because it's just going to come down to picking and choosing his moments. And that's on the next the next coaching staff to choose. Do we work on this to the outside and try to improve that? Or do we try to make it work to where when we're taking those deep shots, it is on the middle of the field? That's something that we're going to have to talk about probably ad nauseum this offseason whenever the new coach and staff get in here. Going back to some of these rankings here, Ken goes with a 3, Jonathan with a 4, Ann says 4. I feel like I shouldn't worry until there's another draft and a new head coach.
Sure.
Kenneth with a 2. So people don't seem to be very worried here so far. I would go with actually, that's not true. Ethereum says 8, very concerned with all accuracy issues he has. Generally, rookie quarterbacks have the arm and need to be coached to protect the ball or read the defense more. I'm not sure how hard it is to learn accuracy. I think a lot of that comes from technique. And so what that has to do with it. Obviously, if you followed a lot of different opinions on the Titans coaching staff this season, you would know that people are not really fans of the technique and practice and coaching that Cam Ward is getting from Bo Hardegree and the rest of that coaching staff in terms of team drills. Certainly, I'm not either.
Poke at
the ball. Certainly doesn't seem like, and it's hard to work on technique in that time period during those open practices. Not saying it doesn't happen outside of that, but yeah, I think it is a concern that he is having such inaccuracies on the outside, but also there are still a lot of good things happening with the middle of the field, right? And I think you're seeing a lot more of these inaccuracy things. Is it fair to say that a lot more of the inaccuracies on the deep balls right now are coming in the latter half of the season versus the front half when you were charting these?
Anecdotally, he completed more. I'm remembering more completions in the first half of the year, but a handful of them were Calvin Ridley completions. Like
Yeah,
that's an element of this. And
also goes back to that. I asked that to say because it's really interesting to me in kind of circling back to these inaccuracies with also how the offense has looked better over the last 4 weeks. It's interesting to me to look at his yards per attempt and the average depth of target that he's throwing for, because Cam Ward, if you just look at the numbers just as they are on the page, noticeably have been a lot less in terms of yards per attempt and average depth of target the past 4 games than they were early in the season. Because early in the season, you had, in his first game, 11.5 average depth of target, 7.3. You had a 8.4, 11.1 in the Arizona game, the one where you could say he played a half of football where he was a tractor quarterback, 7.1 versus Las Vegas, 9.6 versus the Colts, 9.2 against the Chargers, and 8.1 against the Texans. In the 4 games that we're talking about where the offense has been better, 4.9 versus Seattle, 6.4 versus Jacksonville, the game where he didn't score any points there, 5.6 against Cleveland in a game where they scored 30, and then 7.4 against San Francisco. And the same thing can be said for the yards per attempt. It is noticeably less than what we saw in the first half of the season. And I think that also has something to do with it, right? If you're averaging and Darren asked what's average depth of target, it's kind of, as the name implies, the depth at which he's being targeted, the players. So
was he? I think he's asking what is his average depth of target, which I can go and find
for the entire season is what he's asking. 7.7. So
you have it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So all those 4 right there, 7.4, they're all 4 are lower than what his average is this season. But I do think there's an element of this where if you are having Cam Ward now later in the season focus on the short passes, focus on things in the immediate part of the field, and certainly you can look at what you're looking at in these past couple of games where Cam Ward is throwing a heck of a lot of passes behind the line of scrimmage and whatnot here the past couple of weeks.
Leads the league.
I think it's fair to say that if you're focusing a lot on the short game and trying to, get those quick passes, right? It's going to make throwing that deep ball harder, because if you're having to focus on all of that and you're normally throwing that and you're only getting these, like you said, 3 shots a game, it's going to make that infinitely harder to hit down the field. And especially when you are trying to throw to a place on the field that you historically have never been very good at. And so I think it all goes into it that the lack of reps downfield, the reining in of this big game hunting is also affecting the way he throws downfield. But also, like you have pointed to here, going back to his college inaccuracies, they've really translated to the same parts of the field. Not to say that he's a bust or anything like that, but that's just the one part of his game that has been, when you signed up for this, it was glaringly obvious that this is going to be the biggest problem for him. And so that's the challenge of the next head coach and this next staff, to find ways to play to Cam's strengths rather than rely on him to pull you out of those.
King VC says lock in like the show, and I agree. Thank you, King, for reminding us to lock in and like the show. IR Hoshi says, love the negative show today. Brother, listen, they are 2-12. 2-12, by the way. Reminder of that record. Watch them win out the rest of the 3 games. On the board, also, by the way, I will look like a genius in the Titans media room if that were to happen. But more importantly, it would throw Titans draft fans world into utter chaos. They are 3.5 point. We'll probably talk about this on a show later in the week. 3.5 point underdogs at home against the Chiefs this week.
Wow.
Which is crazy. A lot when you consider Gardner Minshew. But they were going to be, before this week, in Predictable's betting market values had them projected to be 7.5 or 8 point underdogs against the Patrick Mahomes led Chiefs in this game. So that that tracks in general. Patrick Mahomes worth 5 or 6 points to his team. I don't think that they are going to beat the Chiefs necessarily, but I now think that it is firmly on the board, especially if they are if last week broke them mentally and physically. You know, what are they playing for? The Titans are playing for something.
And then you also have the Tank Bowl after that, which is going to be interesting. And then who's to say the Jacksonville Jaguars don't lock up the division and have nothing to play for?
Listen, brother, who would have thunk that the most difficult of the final 3 games to win
was going to be the Saints game?
I think the Saints game will be the hardest of the 3 to win. I really do. I think the Jaguars will be resting guys, and I think the Chiefs are mentally and physically broken. The Fighting Tyler Shucks are suddenly a juggernaut. 2 wins in a row, by the way.
Very, very true. This may be a little bit of an early shade here, but also I love the fact that when you're looking at just the stats, the stats on Cam Ward's outside throws are negative. What would you like us to do about these stats? Love the negative show today, brother. That's the stats. Like listen.
To be fair, by the way, we're talking about how he's worse outside the numbers than inside the numbers. That's for the most part how it works for everybody. To be clear, deep outside the number passes are a lower completion percentage shot than up the middle of the field, but it's the disparity for Cam Ward between his middle of the field and outside the numbers completion percentage is greater than most guys, and that's why we're talking about it. The last thing I want to touch on before we get to some shade here on a Phone It In Tuesday is Edward saying we don't have a true outside the numbers type of receiver, which right now is not an unfair thing to say.
Yes.
There's an element of trust and ability here for Cam Ward and his weapons, and that's why this is not just a Cam Ward issue. It is also an offensive issue. Jamie says his inaccuracy seems to come from muddy pockets instead of clean pockets. That there is some semblance of that, but really it's not that the muddy pockets lead to the inaccuracy. It's that when he doesn't have the cleanest pocket in the world, his fundamentals break down. And that leads me to my last question here. And I don't have a fully formed answer for you on this. I'm looking forward to kind of talking through this with hopefully coordinators today and Cam tomorrow at the facility. But how much of the outside the numbers inaccuracy, JT, do you attribute to mental versus physical? And with physical, it's just his footwork, the way that he throws the ball. I was talking to a couple of professional coaches, one that works in the league, the one that is a third-party guy, yesterday. And they were talking about the unique way. We all know that Cam throws the ball in a unique way. His release, where he brings the ball up to, his arm angles, he submarines the ball a lot. Even on throws where he comes up over the top, he still is not fully up over the top like some other. He's not really like an over past the ear kind of thrower. He's still kind of throwing it with that little some gangsters in movies hold their guns straight up and down, and some do the kind of the sideways thing. He throws like a sideways gun gangster. I don't know if that tracks, but that's how I see it in my brain. The way that he approaches his mechanics in that way makes it uniquely difficult to be accurate outside the numbers. This is what was told to me again by a third-party quarterback specialist and an in the league quarterback specialist. And we kind of talked through the complexities of why that is. I tried to boil it down to a way that made sense for me, a non-quarterback expert, to explain in an article or on a show, and it was difficult. Long story short, we would all need to sit down for a 30-minute quarterback guru seminar with a PowerPoint to explain the complexities of why his mechanics make it difficult to be accurate outside the numbers. So kind of trust me, bro, on that. But the point of me saying it in the first place, because you're probably like, okay, what's the point of this? He's not even going to explain it. My point is, we saw this in college. We are now seeing it in the NFL. I just don't think that it is a part of his game that's ever going to be a strength, which is fine. Absolutely. Which is fine. You just need it to not be a glaring weakness. He has room for improvement, and I think that he absolutely, this offseason, next offseason, can work on his mechanics in a way that improves it to be acceptable. What I don't know is whether or not that's going to take a wholesale retooling of his mechanics. Like, basically, I'm saying, is he going to have to change the way he throws every ball to improve his accuracy on these deep outside the numbers balls? Or can he change something about how he approaches that kind of pass? I don't know the answer to that. And I'll be interested to see if there is one that I can get out of Cam or out of his quarterback coach.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there.
I also think one last thing, and then I want to get your answer on the physical versus mental. The mental element of it is twofold to me. One is what our commenter a moment ago said: trust in these guys. Like I am not convinced he has a wholesale trust in his guys to go make a play. And I think that is at times leading him to, like Austin was talking about on the show with you yesterday, aim instead of throw, which is kind of, there's a baseball analogy there. Pitchers. I was talking to Sam Phelan, former D1 baseball pitcher, by the way, about this aiming versus throwing. And he was kind of talking me through how guys as pitchers in baseball get outside of this mindset of just trying to hit their quadrant, and they really try to paint the corners. They're really aiming for very specific parts of the base, and it leads to not like the yips, but it leads to a slump for a guy because he is no longer throwing with the juice that his arm has. He's kind of throttling the juice that he has in his arm in order to be more precise, and it leads to him being hit on a lot more, right? And you probably know more about this than me, JT, because it's a pretty common thing in baseball, but a lot of pitchers have to kind of get back to basics when they start aiming too much and just focus on throwing with the full juice that is in their body and focusing on hitting the quadrant and hoping that that leads to painting the quarters because you have a repeatable muscle memory routine that you go through. And all you're focusing on up here is hitting your quadrant. And I bring all of that up to say, as Austin was saying yesterday, to kind of elaborate on his comparison, which I think is an apt one. Cam Ward, seems to be trying to push the ball all the way to the boundary on a lot of these throws. It's not just that he's throwing over the heads of guys down the field. It's that he's almost on, and again, go watch the video on my Twitter feed. He's almost trying to kind of reroute these guys further to the boundary. He's missing out. He's missing deep and away. And I don't know if that is just that his miss is long, which in general, you want a guy whose miss is long because it keeps the ball out of harm's way. But when so many of them are long to the point of being uncatchable, what's the point, right? And then you're just wasting downs. So I don't know the answer to how much of it is the mechanics versus how much of it is mental. And if it is mental, is it a trust issue? Is it an aiming issue? I don't know, JT. Where do you come down on this?
Yeah, first of all, on the mental side of it, I agree with you that he doesn't necessarily trust these guys to go up and make a play. I think,
and maybe he shouldn't, by the way. Like, maybe that's correct.
Anecdotally as well, if we're talking about the last couple of games, the guy that he is throwing a lot of these deep balls to is Van Jefferson. Do you want Van Jefferson to be the guy that is making this deep ball play and going up there and getting it? Like, if that's the best you have to offer, I think it's fair for him not to trust these guys. I also agree with you on that point, and I come back to the idea that less is more, and that's what I think Cam Ward needs. Less is more on a lot of these throws, but also it's hard because if he doesn't, if he needs it to be less to be more, and you're having Van Jefferson be the guy down there, I also don't blame him for kind of, leading his guy out of danger, because if he doesn't have the full trust in his wide receiver to come down with it, I think we come back to that where a lot of these balls end up being out of bounds or out of harm's way. I end up wanting that in the long run anyways, because then at least you're throwing it up there in the hopes that you can have your receiver make a play, but also it's not going to be the end of the world there and end up as an arm punt. And I think that's important. It's going to come down to, for me, in the mental part of this, the offseason. And if he can get back to that less is more type of mindset, I think you could see it start to get better, because I don't think at the end of the day, the thing you want to do is change his mechanics full throttle. We've seen this movie before. We did this song and dance in year 2 of Will Levis, and we saw how that worked out. It ends up being a mental disaster. Not to say that Cam Ward is a more mentally sound football wise type of player than Will Levis was, but I'm not willing to take that chance that he can mentally adapt to that. at the rate you need him to. I would rather try to work with what he has in his toolbox already than do what they did with Will Levis and essentially try to retrain the entirety of his mechanics. And I think that's another part of the puzzle here. And so to me, it's the mental side of it, not the physical side of it. And I think that comes with an off season of getting this new system in there for whoever his head coach and staff is going to be in upgrading the talent around him.
It's an interesting conversation, and I'm gonna go to the Titans facility here in just a minute and ask some of the coordinators about this, and hopefully talk to Cam about it tomorrow. And I'll have an article out about this later today at some point on AtoZSports.com. So check that out with a lot of the film in there that you can actually watch along, unlike what we can do here on YouTube, because YouTube is annoying in that way. It is time to throw some shade, JT, to wrap up our Phone It In Tuesday. So folks, jump into the comments on Facebook and on YouTube and let us know what is under your skin this week. Let's throw some shade. Shout out to our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process at wilsoncountyhyundai.com or in person in Lebanon. JT, do we have any shades in the chat? Do we need to give the chat a second to
I think we need to we need to get this is a little fast there. I think we need people
That's fine. Let's throw our shade first and then we can get to
Do you want to go first?
Well,
I can.
I don't have mine off the top of the head, so
I see. Okay, well, mine is going to be very selfish on my end, but it certainly for football, I don't feel like I have a strong attachment to like a fan. Nice. I don't like fandom. Like I certainly have said that I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, but like at that point, like I enjoy going to games with family, but like I'm not on my hands and knees crying and bawling that Joe Burrow absolutely sucked last week. The one place I will say that I am like absolutely a diehard fan and actually really care is with baseball and with the Mets. And so my shade is on the New York Mets organization. I cannot fathom the idea of playing Moneyball with the richest owner in the MLB. It is asinine to me. It makes me, for as much as people, like, I finally, all of this to say is, like, I get why people hate John Robinson. I get why people hated Rand Carthon, because I hate David Stearns and the organization right now. How do you go about losing your homegrown, your favorite players because you won't add on a second year, another year? You won't add on more money to meet that contract when you are the richest owner in baseball. It's asinine to me that we are playing Moneyball and trying to recreate some of these players in the aggregate when you are the richest richest single owner organization in the league. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna be honest, Easton. I know every single year I go into the season and I send you a text and I say it's World Series this year. We're going. I'm not this year. We suck.
It's never coming.
It's never.
This will be the year that they actually find success somehow. Because
I hope so.
Of course.
That's my shade.
I hope not, but that wouldn't be surprising.
Well, Jonathan,
my shade is on the NFL's Christmas schedule because it's the only thing.
Hey, Austin agrees with you right there.
Yeah, I mean it's very funny. I mean, these all looked like banger matchups before the season, but now it's ugly. We've got, to start our day, Cowboys Commanders, so the Marcus Mariota show. Maybe he makes that interesting, but the Commanders are pretty sorry. We've got, by the way, Dallas is out of the playoffs, so what's really the point of that game? It's two teams that are fighting for nothing. The Lions and the Vikings are next. That one's probably going to be the best game of the day as long as we get 9 instead of 9. The Lions are going to be playing for something for sure. Yeah. Right. Vikings trying to play spoiler in the division. Right now, that game is lined at 1.5, so it's actually like not that terrible of a matchup. We can hope. And it is in Minnesota, so, you know. And then the night game, we've got Chiefs hosting the Broncos. Gardner Minshew in primetime on Christmas night, that's a lump of coal in the stocking.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, it's a tough matchup. I do agree that the only really watchable game there is the middle one, and so um, that's so tough. The first and last game. That's the one you kind of have to do the inverse. Like you open Christmas presents and then you go back to sleep and you like sleep until like 2:00 and you watch that game and then you eat dinner and you fall asleep. That's how you do it this year.
Pretty good plan for that day.
Let's get to some shades here in the chat. Jeff says, throwing shade on Easton and Diego Pavia. I'm so glad Pavia didn't win. What a smug, unlikable D-bag, yet Easton wanted him to win SMH. Your response.
Smug, unlikable D-bag is perhaps the perfect way to describe this commenter.
Damn. Wow. Okay. Wow.
So, Jeff, I suppose it really does take one to know one.
Damn. All right. Well, shade on bosses with poor communication skills. Fair enough. Eric, shade on Sharon Moore. Dude went from the big house to the big house.
That's crazy. Hadn't heard that one.
Eric says, shade on the thieves who broke into Jeffrey Simmons' house. Absolutely. Good call. Ira Hoshi says, shade on FedEx for losing his package, a Christmas gift for his dad.
Come on, FedEx.
Unbelievable. Titans Kyle says, shade on Mahomes for tearing his ACL. Don't you mess this up and lose to us. So
well,
tear his ACL. Scott says, shade on Saturday's snowstorm that ruined his Christmas party.
Oh, that stinks.
Garrett says, shade on Notre Dame and their fans. We're still on this.
Agreed.
Not forgotten yet.
Join a conference.
Anne says, shade on Michigan weather for being so dang cold and snowy that it was too much for her snowblower.
I mean, not to be a hater here. You live in Michigan. Shade on you for not wrapping your head around what came with the decision to live in Michigan.
Race Goal says, shade on bad HR managers that demand immediate responses, but then ghost employees when they ask questions back. Fair enough. Agreed. Cole says, shame on Walmart not being open 24/7 because what the hell? I agree. Sure.
That is increasingly the case, isn't it? I feel like Walmart's used to be universally open all the time, and now they're not. I suppose they weren't getting enough foot traffic at 4 a.m.
I agree with Johnny here.
Maybe it was a bad business model in the first place.
Shade on people who take their sweet time getting on and off planes. It's not that hard. Get your stuff together and move. I agree.
Agreed. Look alive. And if you're at the front, you have a fiduciary responsibility to be on it. Like, there are souls waiting on you. Get off the plane.
Yes. Camry says, throwing shade on my coworker because I haven't been able to listen for the last 30 minutes while I do inventory because he wouldn't stop talking to me.
Tell him.
Shade on your baby.
Yeah, shade on. She's screaming, "Dad, Dad!" That's the only word she knows at the moment. And she's realizing that she can be loud with it.
And so shade on whoever raised JT to allow him to be a Bengals fan and a Mets fan. Well, that's what you get for living in New Jersey and then moving to Cincinnati. So my father, I guess.
That's what you get when you live in the two worst places in America.
And says in retort to our
Michigan
comments, Michigan shade, she said, shade on me for thinking I was straight, marrying a man and moving to Michigan and then getting stuck here because she has kids.
Oh, one of those stories.
Insane and lore. Insane.
Didn't know it was one of those. That is crazy.
We appreciate Anne dropping new lore every single week.
And listen, Anne lets it all hang out in the chat. I don't know what to tell you.
Unapologetically,
no secrets with Anne.
We appreciate her for that.
She is true to herself. I respect that.
I think that's it. So,
all right. Well, I'll be back tonight with Primetime. Hopefully, I will have garnered something from going to the Titans facility and talking to the coordinators here in a couple of hours. So follow us on Twitter for updates on that. Make sure to keep it locked on AtoZSports.com. Some written content coming from me over there, including the film breakdown of Cam Ward's deep passing. And we'll be back tomorrow morning show, same time, same place. We will talk to you then.